The apartment vibrated with the rhythm of a dozen overlapping conversations. Mark stood at the center of the room, his head thrown back, a plastic cup gripped in his hand as he delivered the punchline to a joke he had told a dozen times before. The room erupted in cheers. He was the anchor, the energy, the life of the party. He kept the momentum moving, eyes darting from person to person, ensuring no silence lasted longer than a heartbeat. Then, he turned. He navigated the crowd with a practiced smile, slipped through the hallway, and pushed into the bathroom. The lock clicked. The roar of the party muffled into a distant, rhythmic thrum. Mark leaned his forehead against the cold, flat surface of the mirror. The smile vanished. It did not fade. It collapsed. His breath hitched. A sharp, ragged sound in the small, tiled space. He stared at his reflection, watching the light leave his eyes as the mask of the performer fell away, leaving behind a hollow, gray exhaustion. He pulled his phone from his pocket. 300 notifications blinked on the screen, but the list was empty of the one thing he actually needed. He walked out of the apartment, the door clicking shut behind him to seal away the noise. The night air was sharp and still. Mark reached his car, slid into the driver's seat, and turned the key. The engine sputtered, then died, leaving him in a sudden, heavy vacuum of sound. He did not try to start it again. He sat in the dark, his hands locked onto the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white against the black leather. The dashboard lights cast a faint, cold glow over his lap. In the silence, the facade of the party dissolved entirely. He thought of the dreams he had abandoned years ago, the ambitions he stopped speaking aloud, and the sharp, persistent ache in his chest that never settled. He stared through the windshield at the empty street. He felt thin, transparent, as if he were made of glass. He imagined simply vanishing from the seat, dissolving into the upholstery. He waited for a reaction, a ripple, a sign that the world would notice his absence. Nothing moved. The streetlights remained steady. The wind did not change direction. He was a ghost in his own life, drifting through a reality that had no place for him. Mark stared at the dark dashboard, his mind drifting to a story from a book he had read long ago. He thought of Zacchaeus, a man so small he had to climb into the branches of a sycamore tree just to catch a glimpse of someone passing by. The crowd was a wall of noise, thick and entirely indifferent to the man hidden in the leaves. But the one walking through the center of that chaos stopped. He looked up, directly into the foliage, and called him by name. He did not see a faceless member of a mob. He saw a person. Mark tightened his grip on the wheel, his knuckles aching. He thought of the woman who had been bleeding for 12 years, lost in a sea of bodies, reaching out just to touch the hem of a robe. She was invisible to the masses, a ghost in the press of humanity, yet she was not invisible to him. He stopped. He turned. He acknowledged her existence in the middle of a frantic, uncaring world. Mark sat in the stillness of his car, the weight of these memories pressing against his chest. He did not want to be a performer anymore. He did not want to be a ghost. He felt a sudden, sharp hunger to be known, to be pulled from the branches, to be turned toward and called by name, to finally be seen by something that did not demand a performance in return. The air inside the car changed. It grew dense, charged with a quiet, insistent pressure that had nothing to do with the night or the engine. Mark stopped gripping the wheel. His fingers uncurled, one by one, until his palms lay flat against the leather. The loneliness he had carried like a heavy, suffocating coat suddenly felt different. It was no longer a prison wall. It was a path. Every night spent staring at the ceiling, every drive home in the dark, every moment he felt unseen, it had been a persistent, gentle knocking at his door. He felt the shift in his own marrow. The exhaustion that had defined his movements for years began to loosen its hold. He realized he was not forgotten. He was not too broken to be known. He was the one who had been searched for all along. Mark let his shoulders drop. He stopped holding his breath. The performance ended here, in the dark, with no audience to applaud. He leaned his head back against the seat, closed his eyes, and let the silence fill the space where his anxiety used to live. He whispered into the dark, "I am here." The words hung in the air, simple and final. He was finally, undeniably, seen. The silence in the driveway no longer felt empty. It felt like a foundation. Mark reached out and turned the key. The engine hummed to life, a steady, rhythmic pulse that mirrored the calm now settling in his chest. He shifted the car into gear, his movements fluid and unforced. There was no mask to put on, no audience to appease, and no script to follow. As he pulled out of the driveway and onto the quiet street, the streetlights passed over the hood in steady, rhythmic intervals. He watched the road ahead, not as a ghost drifting through a room, but as a man who knew exactly where he was and who he was. He was simply moving forward, fully known, fully present, and finally home.